My lecture today is about a rather new topic, which is called geoengineering. The idea that we might have to intervene directly to try and modify the climate if we are not successful in reducing emissions and dealing with the problem of climate change in that way. And we know from observing volcanoes that it is possible to reflect a little bit more sunlight away from the Earth and so cause some extra cooling. And that is one possible way of intervening deliberately in the climate system. The other way is to reduce greenhouse gases. We have put many hundreds of billions of tons of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, but it may be possible to invent technologies to remove some of that greenhouse gas and so attack the problem at its source. And both of these ideas are being thought about. Both of them have advantages and disadvantages, but also many unknown features. We know very little about the possible side effects on the environment, which may be unintended but could be quite serious. And so we really need to start research on these ideas so that we know whether they are really feasible, whether we can afford them, and whether they have acceptable consequences, both the intended consequences and the unintended consequences. And without that research, we shall never know. And if we need these techniques in future, we really should find out so that we are well prepared in case we have to use them. I think there are many challenges for education in the 21st century. In most countries, certainly in Great Britain, we find fewer and fewer children wishing to study science. They regard science and mathematics as difficult and not so interesting. They all want to be rock stars and celebrities. And so really we are fighting against popular culture, trying to interest young people in preserving the environment, in managing the planet on which we live, and learning the science and the mathematics that is necessary for us to do that. And so there are many problems to be faced. I think the most important is really to interest and gain the enthusiasm of young people for science as a positive feature of life. It's a wonderful world that we live in. It's a privilege to be able to try to understand it. And that excitement somehow does not seem to be getting across to the population at large. But we find that even though in the United States and in Europe, people are less interested in science, in the developing world, people seem to realize that this is really important for the future. And so I think bringing people, young people from the developing world into this scientific culture that we have developed in the last few hundred years is really very important. And that is where we should be trying to work very hard.